Now, there's no question, at least from man's point of view, that some life forms are more important than others. We could perhaps survive without certain flowers or trees or wildlife. We may, in fact, someday have to. But I'm optimistic that drastic decisions will never have to be made. I hope at the time this film ends, you'll be optimistic too.
Today we are going to be talking about cause advocacy. More specifically, the advocacy of conserving and restoring North America's wetlands. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, the NOAA, in the lifetime of a child born today, 800,000 acres of wetlands will be lost in Louisiana alone, shrinking the coastline by 33 miles. Wetland destruction began in the early 1600s with the permanent settlement of colonial America. At that time, the wetlands were seen as useless and unhealthy swamplands that stood in the way of agricultural advancements. The degradation of the wetlands is an important issue because of how beneficial the wetlands are to society. Aside from serving as a home for native plants and animals that enhance the quality of their life cycle, wetlands protect from flooding, control shoreline erosion, improve natural water quality, and also function as a source for recreational purposes. The protection and restoration of the wetlands, both environmentally and economically, impacts this and future generations. It is of the utmost importance that the causes of wetland degradation be identified and properly resolved. Further, working towards restoring and conserving the remaining wetlands must be addressed in a timely and efficient manner in order to preserve the resources currently being stripped. Using previous accomplishments as examples will help to enact a quicker resolution. It has been said that the first step to solving a problem is to realize that there is a problem. In the 1600s, there were over 220 million acres of wetlands in the southern United States. Since that time, numbers have significantly dwindled, and over half the United States has lost their wetland ecosystems. According to Watershed's article on wetland loss and degradation, some of the activities responsible for wetland loss are agriculture, commercial and residential development, road construction, resource extraction, weeds, and environmental pollution. People consider them to be useless swamplands that serve no purpose, and as such believe that we can simply get rid of our wetlands in order to build more cities, roads, housing developments, and whatever people deem necessary. What people do not realize is how damaging expansion is to the wetlands. It shrinks animal and plant populations, causes more flooding, and decreases the quality of natural fresh water, to name a few things. If people were to devote their efforts in expansion to preserving and maintaining the wetlands, they could control these negative side effects before it is too late. Not only are people affected by wetland degradation, but wetlands are home to a host of plants and animals, many of which are endangered species, such as the Chinook salmon, northern spotted owls, and the Roswell spring snail. It also provides habitats and nutrients to an array of aquatic animals and waterfowl, and as such, acts as healthy waterways. With fishing accounting for around $42 billion of the U.S. economy, the government has also been forced to join in the conservation process. Should those fish and other animals become extinct due to wetland loss, it would be vastly detrimental to our economy. Aside from the economics of wetland degradation, there is a matter of principle behind sentencing dozens, if not hundreds, of species to their demise. The wetlands account for many resources we rely on, but they also account for many predators we need in order to control pest populations, such as mosquitoes. With mosquitoes mostly residing within wetland environments, the degradation of wetlands forces them to move into other environments that people occupy. When this happens, people take extreme measures and often use harmful chemicals and other methods to dispose of these pests. The best method for taking care of such problems is the restoration and conservation of the wetlands. By returning these environments back to their natural conditions, pest problems can be easily managed, endangered species can be allotted the opportunity to thrive in their natural habitat, and government revenue can continue to prosper in the fishing realm. The severity of wetland loss has forced the government, conservation organizations, and science to see that solutions to this problem must be procured immediately. According to AWF, America's Wetland Foundation, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers takes an average of 30 years to complete a single large-scale river diversion project. Currently, AWF seeks cooperation from Congress and the administration to resolve and change conflicting federal policies and procedures that slow the productivity of wetland restoration and conservation. Also, AWF has created a method known as multiple lines of offense that include the use of dredged material, the fortification of ridges and barrier islands, as well as long-term river diversion. While these efforts are wise and noble, there is often more than one way to go about solving problems. The Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF, takes a slightly different approach and focuses more on what humanity can do in order to reduce its footprint on wetland environments. Currently, the WWF strives to develop and implement new ways of growing crops in order to decrease the effects of agriculture on the wetlands. They hope to better manage fisheries by putting an end to overfishing, illegal and unregulated fishing, and fixing poor management and procurement. They work to find new ways to solve forestry and water situations such as tree loss, damming, and irrigation. Furthermore, the WWF is making efforts for the transition of cities into sustainable development, and finally, in dealing with waste being disposed into the wetlands. Organizations such as the AWF and the WWF are making huge advancements in stopping the destruction of the wetlands. Having determined the problem and finding ways to stop the problem, the final step in solving the issue is to find a proper way to fix the situation. For years, organizations like Ducks Unlimited, the EPA, the NOAA, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service have been working toward a common goal of finding a solution to restoring the wetlands. It was recorded in 2014 by Andy Cooper that for the 2014 fiscal year, Ducks Unlimited restored over 2,200 acres of wetlands in Texas alone, with 1,350 more acres under contract through the Texas Prairie Wetlands Project. The TPWP was able to provide approximately 64,000 acres of wetland habitat along the Texas Gulf Coast. These efforts were also made possible through the support of private landowners. In another article by Cooper, Ducks Unlimited completed even more projects along the Texas Gulf Coast, increasing previous records of acreage restored to 8,300, including 6,000 acres of waterfowl habitat. With such a significant amount of wetlands being restored, it is clear that an immense amount of work has gone into the restoration efforts. The big question, however, is what methods make these accomplishments possible. Through extensive research and testing, Ducks Unlimited has conjured a list of proactive methods for restoring North America's wetlands. This list includes restoring grasslands, replanting forest, restoring watersheds, working with landowners, working with partners, acquiring land, conservation easements, management agreements, and geographic information systems. If people will join together and do their part in conserving the wetlands by becoming involved or financially supporting efforts already being made, the potential for wetland conservation is unfathomable. The cause of conserving and restoring the wetlands is significant for many reasons, a couple of which are the preservation of plant and animal species and the benefits that wetlands provide for the human population. While substantial efforts are being made, further action needs to be taken if the wetland environment stands a chance for continuous survival. There are many organizations that focus on resolving this issue in a timely manner that desperately need support. Several of these organizations offer opportunities to become involved through giving and volunteering, depending upon personal interest. One of the most popular groups in the area is Ducks Unlimited. DU gives numerous options for supporting, including becoming a DU member and volunteering within several local counties. Options for support are available. The issue is important and time sensitive, and the cause is extremely noble. The final question is simple. Who will be willing to stand up and join the fight in conserving and restoring the wetlands of North America?